Hey guys, it's Fire here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking to you about boot enchantments, what you should get, when you should get them, and what's going to be the best option for you as an AD carry and also for a mid laner. Now I'm going to be talking about how this affects an AD carry first, so if you're only interested about how this affects mid laners, pop into the description below, click the timestamp and it'll take you right there. So the first obvious thing then to get out of the way is what is an enchantment. So when you buy your tier 2 boots, so Berserker Greaves, Sorcerer Shoes, you can then add an enchantment onto them which upgrades them and gives them a following effect. So there are 5 enchantments you can have, and personally I only think there are 3 that are viable for AD carries and for mid laners. The 3 that we're going to be talking about are Furor, Distortion and Home Guard. So just to clarify what these do then, so Furor boots mean that whenever you deal damage to a champion with a single target attack or spell, you get 12% speed boost that decays over 2 seconds. With your Distortion, it means your Ghost, Teleport and Flash cooldowns are reduced by 25%, and with your Home Guard it just means that as soon as you're standing on the centre of the fountain, you go to full health and mana and gain a speed boost that decays over 8 seconds. What does this mean for an AD carry then? You should always be aiming to buy Furor boots. Now this is because kiting on an AD carry is your most important job, and it's the thing that 9 times out of 10 you're going to want to be doing in a team fight when a bruiser jumps onto you. If we just take an example then and say that Maokai jumps onto you with his Twisted Advance, your job is going to be to attack him as he's the closest target to you, and Furor boots are going to allow you to kite him backwards. I mean that he won't be able to do any damage to you because you're kiting him so effectively. So if that's the most optimal situation having Furor boots, why else would you buy any of the others? Distortion boots you would buy when you're being jumped by an assassin, because no amount of kiting is going to save you against an assassin. If you have an enemy Akali jumping onto you, she has 3 charges of her ultimate. That means she has 3 gap closes, and 12% of movement speed is not going to save you, but a flash over a wall or a flash backwards is going to help more than that. So in reality what this means is you want to have your flash cooldown available at every team fight, and this distortion boots mean that you don't have to delay the time between team fights. You can just fight whenever you like because your flash cooldown is going to be ready. Final option is Home Guard, and I only buy these when I'm losing the game. So if the enemy team is taking a turret for example and they're about to take an inhibitor and you're about to spawn from a death, then buy Home Guard. You can get into the fight quicker and you can make more of an impact. The other situation when you want to buy Home Guard is when you're constantly in your base. So if they've taken an inhibitor from you, maybe they've taken 2 inhibitors, your job as an AD carry is to just sit in the base and farm as much as you can. It's not actually too bad a thing to have an inhibitor down as an AD carry because it means you're just going to get free farm over and over from all the waves pushing into your base. And Home Guard means you can repeatedly go back, buy, and you're never going to be caught out of position by the enemy team. So just to recap then, you should always be trying to buy Furor unless you have a reason not to. So these reasons would include things like hard CC that you need to flash away from, something like an Amumu ult. If you anticipate that coming, you can flash away when he is about to use it, and you won't be caught in it, and then you can carry on fighting. That's going to be much more effective than Furor boots. As I mentioned before, the other reason would be assassins jumping onto you. So common examples would be people like Kha'Zix and Diana. Now these two both jump onto you and do a huge amount of damage straight away to you, but if you can flash away then you can kite them around and you're going to stand much better chance than that 12% increased movement speed. Finally, Home Guard is good when you're losing your base or when you're constantly camped in your base, but otherwise it's not really worth your money, and so you should just buy something else. So that pretty much sums it up for an AD carry, but now I'm going to talk about a mid laner. Now the 2 most common enchantments and the 2 best enchantments are going to be Distortion and Home Guard. Distortion is really good for people who require their flash to gain position for things, people like Morgana who need their flash to engage, or people like Kennen who want to flash into the middle of the entire team with their AoE ultimates. People like this need their flash up every fight, and Distortion allows you to do that with a 25% reduced cooldown. The other thing to note is that most mid laners actually will get Home Guard. I'm not necessarily saying this is a bad thing because it means you can get back to your lane quicker, you can get around the map, and it doesn't really have any downfalls, but you have to remember that Home Guard gives you no combat stats at all. It's not going to help you in fights in any way, and so if you buy that item you're purely buying it for map control and movement, where Distortion boots would actually have an impact in team fights. Now the only other option that would actually be viable would be the increased movement speed. You only actually get 15 movement speed from this, and I don't personally think it's worth it. I would rather have my flash available on a shorter cooldown. The other reason I don't buy it is because the people I think the movement speed is really important on, people like Twisted Fate, I would run movement speed quints anyway, and so that movement speed quint will give me more than the 15 movement speed from the boot enchantment, and in my opinion it's just wasted money and I don't think there's any reason to buy it. Now the final thing I haven't talked about is when you should get these boot enchantments. Now it's very situational because every game is different, and unfortunately there's no clear-cut guidance I can give you on when you should be buying it. In general, I usually buy it after my 4th or 5th item because I don't want to slow down my build by getting the boot enchantments. There are exceptions to this, and especially on AD carry, if you're getting jumped on and you need the Fiora to kite better, then it's definitely worth buying that. 475 gold is not a lot of money to give you the ability to kite, and so if you are struggling in team fights and you are getting pinned down and your team aren't protecting you, then this can be a really effective early buy. So there you have it guys, that's all you need to know about boot enchantments. Now I hope you enjoyed this and you learned something from it. Please do leave any feedback you have for me in the comments below. And since I'm growing so quickly, I really want to keep in touch with what my viewership want, so if you can let me know in the comments below whether you want to see more commentaries, more of these short guides on items, or just champion guides in general, that would be fantastic. Please do like and subscribe this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.